My divorce experience. I've been divorced and I've been married 4 times. And I get a lot of adults actually that hit me up that they're going through divorce. It's a lot. And I want to share my divorce experience because I think that it actually can help somebody out there. My name is Eric. If you're new to my channel, hit the like and subscribe button. It's all about mental health, mental illness, suicide awareness, sobriety, just making sure that nobody goes through life alone. I am a recovering alcoholic cocaine addict. I am diagnosed with ADHD, PTSD, GAD, and MDD. Those are my diagnoses. And you know what? I've been through a lot. I lost a wife and a father to suicide. I've attempted suicide. I take meds. I see a therapist. I've self-harmed before. I mean, I found the more that I share these experiences, the more that it helps other people out there. When I got divorced, I was young. I got married at a really young age. Right around 19, I got divorced. 23, it was finalized when I was 24. I was married. It wasn't a bad marriage. I mean, a lot of it was good. One of the things that happened, though, is I got married way too young. And I get this from a lot of teens out there, even that reach out to me, even adults that reach out to me going, you know what? She was the love of my life. He was the love of my life, and I'm never going to find anyone else. Yes, you will. There are 7 billion people on the planet. Yes, you will. And you got to remember that a relationship doesn't define you, you define you. It was hard for me going through divorce. I mean, I broke down. I was depressed. I was angry. I was self-defeated, and I didn't own any of the things that I did to ruin it. Our communication, even through the divorce, was bad. I was heavily drinking by that time. I mean, I really started drinking at like 14, but she was older than me. She used to buy my alcohol for me, and I would get shit-faced, and she didn't like that. It wasn't all that fun. I mean, it was fun at first, but then it got kind of old after a while that, hey, this guy just doesn't stop drinking. And when we had money went towards my addiction, not towards anything else. Our marriage eventually fell apart. I cheated on her. We went through marriage counseling. We went through a lot of that. I do believe that you can change your mindset on love, that you can fall back in love with people, because I did. I can wholeheartedly say with an open heart is when I said, nope, I want to be with you, I was never with anyone else after that, until we got separated and divorced and all that. But going through that divorce was really hard. I mean, how it ended up going down is she had gotten her master's degree in costume design, and I was sitting outside on the porch, and I kind of knew that something was off. I knew for like the last week, like, hey, something's really off. Like our sex life had really kind of went down the tubes. Like something just was really, really off. And I'm outside, we had pugs, and the pugs are going to the bathroom. I'm drinking coffee, smoking a cigarette. And she came outside, and I had started already planning her graduation party. And she goes, I don't want to be married anymore. And it was kind of like one of those, what? It was right away. My instant thing went to, okay, I got to get your family and everyone involved, because that's what happened when I had cheated on her. I wanted a divorce. I was told by everybody, you can't get a divorce. You need to make this work. I was freaking out. I was 6 months married. I thought I made the worst decision in my life. Like I was panicking. Everyone reconvinced me, no, make it work. And I did make it work. And I did fall back in love. And I did love her. I was like, well, it's your turn now to do this. And she didn't. And it started getting worse. And when I realized how it was, I started getting angrier and angrier. I really took a lot of stuff out on myself. I quit drinking, actually. I was sober for about 3 months because, she, part of the reason why she was leaving me was because of my drinking habit. I was like, okay, so if I get sober, this is going to fix it all, which it doesn't. I wish I would have stayed with getting sober and gotten sober the first time for the right reasons, because I wouldn't have relapsed. We started going through this divorce, and we lived together, and it was hard. I mean, I was depressed. I was crying at work. I was breaking down. I was very self-defeating, and I felt so much pain, and I wanted her to feel the pain. She had to feel the pain because I'm hurting. And it made me a horrible human being. My first divorce made me a horrible human being. I had a lot of hatred just towards women all of a sudden in general, because my heart hurt so much. And when we get fully emotional and we don't own any of our stuff, because I didn't own any of it. It was all her this time. It was her. She didn't want to fix it this time. And that's not right. I mean, I put this poor girl through a lot of stuff early on in our marriage, and I didn't own that. But I wasn't leaving bed. I kicked her out of the house. She ended up getting an apartment. She ended up having roommates, what have you. And I stayed in the house that we had. This was when we lived in San Diego. I was just angry human being. I mean, it was so bad. It got to the point that my parents flew out and cleaned my house, and all I did was sleep. Like I didn't want to work. All I did was sleep. I made up excuses why I couldn't go into work. Because I really just felt self-defeated. I even took the concept, hey, the best way to get over somebody is under somebody. That doesn't work, because all you do is hurt other people. You hurt yourself in return. I became just a hardcore man whore, started sleeping around with tons of people. That's when MySpace was out. And even my friends were laughing. They're like, dude, you are the master of MySpace to my place. And I was, but I was doing it for the wrong reasons. I was trying to fill the emptiness and the gaps. And the thing that, looking back, that I wish I would have did is I wish I would have gotten to therapy right away. I think that would have actually helped me tremendously, but I didn't. I did get into therapy later on, and it actually helped me. Got back onto my meds because my wife at that time, she didn't believe in ADHD. She thought more, she did feed into more of the stigma side of it. So I'd actually stopped taking my meds. I'd gotten back onto Adderall. I had started getting the help that I needed through therapy and started really coming to terms with what was going on. I didn't own any of my stuff though. It was way, way, way years later before I really owned my shit. And I had anger issues for a long time after that. I had very toxic, horrible relationships, and it wasn't due to the people. I've met some amazing people. But I had really horrible relationships for about the next 3 years after this because I felt that women were just going to hurt me because I was hurt so bad. And it was wrong of me. I categorized everybody in that category. And I think that maybe this is something that people can relate to because, I mean, it's like you watch a world fall apart and it crumbles and you're like, dude, I just gave you everything. Like I lived for you. And that was one of the biggest mistakes I did is when I fell back in love with her, I lived for her and not for me. And to have that cohesiveness. And that's where a lot of the anger came from. Like, I bought you a house. I put you through school. I'm in sales and didn't go back to school and became good at sales because of you. Where I wasn't owning the stuff that I was doing and doing stuff for me. You have to do stuff for you. And I'm not a therapist or marriage counselor by any means. I mean, I've been married 4 times. This is only my first time right here that I'm talking about. But you really have to own your stuff and have stuff for you. It was hard. And I will tell you this, like even through it, like we tried to be friends a little bit. And that's what led to my relapse during this divorce because like I was doing everything I could to try and like win her back. And she allowed me to believe that I could, which wasn't the case. I wish that she would have been more open about that because I was like really open about, hey, maybe we can date, work this out. And I was getting those maybes. That's why I don't do good with gray areas because I was getting a lot of maybes and you never know. And I really love you. And that was really hard. There weren't firm boundaries during the divorce. I wish there would have been. Firm boundaries do make a big difference. And it really does actually lessen the hurt and lessen the pain because we're at a firm understanding. I'm trying to kind of win her back. And then next thing you know, I found out that she's kind of sleeping around with some other people, even though she's like calling and talking to me and being really nice and kind of even a little bit flirty. That ended up leading to my relapse. I ended up getting extremely shit-faced off of a bunch of shots, started doing coke. Had her dog and was threatening to kill her dog. Ended up having the cops called on me because I was in the house and she ended up coming over. I told her not to come over. She was trying to stop me from going outside and smoking a cigarette. I ended up punching a wall. Next thing I know, the cops are there. And that was really my rude awakening was that. I mean, this was about 2 months into our divorce when finally I ended up setting those firm boundaries because the cops came over. She was standing in front of me and she kept going, no, you can't go outside because she was worried I was going to hurt myself. And I am shit-faced at this time, but I'm clear enough that I still remember this. This is burned into my brain that much that I was like, get the fuck out of my face. Like, get away from me. And I did actually pick her up and move her at one point, and she jumped back in front of me. And instead of hitting her, I turned around and I put my hand through the door and I ended up screwing up my thumb and it was bleeding. And she's screaming. And so she calls one of my best friends, and my best friend, all he heard was screaming. And he's saying to myself, oh my God, Eric's killing her. He's drunk. Something's wrong. So they end up calling the police and they're coming over, and I'm out back smoking a cigarette and I see the lights going on, and my friend's like, hey dude, come up front, and the cops are there. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, sir, we've gotten a 911 call, a domestic abuse, domestic disturbance. They made me sit on the porch and they're like, dude, what's going on? She's sobbing with the dog and she's in another area. And I'm like, dude, I wanted to smoke a cigarette. Like she can't be here. And I remember telling the cops that, and I'm drunk and I'm swaying and I'm like, she can't be here. She can't be here. This isn't right. She can't be here. And they're like, okay, so they actually sent her away. They let her go. And they're like, what did you do to your hand? Did you hit her? And I'm like, no, I put my hand through the door. I go, I wanted to hit her, but I didn't hit her. I got very, very angry. And instead I punched the door, and the cop looks at me and goes, you know what, dude? I got the same thing. And he literally showed me the scar on his hand. I'm getting goosebumps telling this. And I'm like, oh my God. He's like, and mine was the same case. He's like, it's going to be okay. And I'm like, thank you. And that was my like aha moment. I'm like, holy shit. I need to move on past this. I need to set up like the boundaries. My friend ended up taking me to the hospital because my hand was messed up, and I get in there and the male nurse is just being a dick to me because you could smell the alcohol and stuff on me. And he's like, what did you do? And I'm like, I'm going through a divorce and I got really emotional. I ended up putting my hand through a door, and he goes, you know what, see this scar? And I'm like, you gotta be fucking shitting me. He's like, see this scar right here? He goes, I did the same thing. And I'm like, you know what, I am not alone. And when I all of a sudden felt not alone was when I actually started to really heal from that divorce. And it came to terms with the divorce, and I ended up cutting her off. Still had a lot of issues from it, but I did end up getting into therapy after that and getting onto meds after that. But that was really my aha moment going through my divorce and what the experience was like. It took other people to let me know that it was okay, not my fault, that shit does happen, and that it's going to get better for me to realize it. I mean, that was one of the best experiences in my life. And I grew a lot from it, and I learned a lot from it. It did, even though I didn't realize, taught me how to set healthy boundaries and to start setting boundaries. Not always have my boundaries been healthy because, of course, being an addict, manipulative, wanting to feed my addiction, I use that to my advantage. But maybe this helps somebody out there. I mean, if you're going through a divorce right now, just remember this, that it does get better. It is a struggle. It is a lot of heartbreak. It is a lot of hurt. And that it's okay. That it's going to be okay. And that, you know what? My heart goes out to you. Grieve it. Grieve divorce. Grieve the end of a relationship just like you do losing somebody, because that's essentially what it is. And that it's okay, and that it's okay to hurt. It's okay to cry, but definitely look out and seek out some therapy because it does help you work through it a lot easier. Hopefully this helps somebody out there. I mean, if you haven't hit the like and subscribe button, hit that like and subscribe button. I'd love to have you along for the journey. And in the description box are links to all my different social medias. I do my best to try and bridge the gap between a crisis hotline and therapy with all the tools, experiences, and resources that I can share. I even have links down below to things on Amazon that I use, like fidget cubes and fidget spinners to help with my anxiety. I have a link down below to BetterHelp. I mean, it's trial and error with therapy to find out what therapy works for you. So don't give up. If you've never tried a therapist, please try a therapist. And if you've only went to one therapist and it was a bad experience, please try another therapist. It's trial and error. Actually finding the right one is amazing. Have a link down below to Renewal Recovery, which is an inpatient mental health rehab recovery center. I mean, take care of this. This and this are tied together, and the more that we take care of this, it takes care of this. So remember that and find out what works for you. Hit that like and subscribe button. Comment down below. I'd love to know your experiences. I'd love to hear your story. I mean, that's what it's about. The more that we share, the more that nobody goes it alone. So hit the like and subscribe button. Remember that you're a BAMF. You're a badass motherfucker. And you made it through 100% of your worst days to make it through to today. And you got this.